What's going on, everyone? You're listening to the Monday Press Conference Recap, sponsored by the Ranch Harley-Davidson in College Station. I'm Alex Miller with the Eagle, joined by Travis Brown. Texas A&M, of course, coming off their 31-0 win over Sam Houston State last Saturday to kick off the 2022 season. Heard a lot about the Aggies' win over the Bearcats from A&M head coach Jimbo Fisher today. Here's what Jimbo had to say about the win.
But all right, good to be with y'all. Looking at the film after we did it, again, very proud of our team. Good win. Anytime you get a shutout, that's hard. I mean, those are so rare and extreme. I mean, they're very hard to get. Thought the defense start there. They thought they did a really nice job. I thought up front, our defensive line group kept good pressure on the quarterback, but also played the run very well, fit gaps. Our linebackers, our front seven, did a really nice job in winning the first down battles, which kept you in more second and long, third and long situations, which really helped getting 3 and outs and being able to get stops. I thought Diggs up front jumped out at me a little bit. I thought Rakes, those guys played solidly, our backers. But the whole front up front, I thought did really good. I thought in the secondary, I thought Damani flashed making plays, him 27 at times. The corners made some plays on the ball, which is good. Sometimes there's overthrown routes you cover good, but there's also being able to play through the ball, got some tips, got their hands on balls, which is very encouraging and watching and showing the ball skills, showing timing, showing how to play the technique and get your hands on balls and doing that. I thought they did a nice job. Be able to create 2 turnovers. Got a tip pick down there by Jordan Gilbert, another young freshman, redshirt freshman. It was very good to see. We got a fumble later on. That was great. So we got 2 turnovers in that regard. Really good situation as far as that goes. And then again, to get a shutout. And then as we started even subbing in the game, still kept guys playing well, keeping leverage on the football, chasing the football. Thought we played really hard. Getting gang tackled, doing the things you have to do with pursuit angles and things like that for the most part. A couple times the quarterbacks are very athletic. They got out there and squirted through the pocket, but we got him down, got in space, and I thought we tackled well in space. That was the other thing too. It wasn't a lot of space, but we did tackle well once we got to space. That was good there.
But we're inside Kyle Field on a Monday afternoon. Happy Labor Day to y'all. We're still laboring here. But, we just heard from A&M head coach Jimbo Fisher and some A&M players, of course, on their weekly media availability as the Aggies coming off their win over Sam Houston State to open the 2022 season. Travis, something we talked about after the game was just kind of maybe a lackluster performance for the Aggies on offense in particular. What'd you kind of make of what Jimbo and some of the others had to say about where the Aggies need to get going in the offensive side of the ball?
I mean, it was funny because I think my wife was going to throw a shoe at me after the game. When I was finishing up some of my writing at home, I use a transcription software, and I knew if I was going to try to get a quote about the run game, all I had to search for was twists and stunts, because he said it like 20 times, and he was talking about how the twists and stunts that Sam Houston did disrupted the blocking schemes and of the offense, and that closed the holes, didn't open up the holes for Devon Achane to run through. And so I think there is something to the fact that it's a younger group of offensive linemen. You have a center making his first real start in a game, and Matthew Wyckoff, who's making a lot of the calls and things. Yeah, so some communication issues there. I'll be interested to see if some of those communication issues clear up and they open up some more holes moving forward. But don't get me wrong, Sam Houston State could be a team that wins a lot of games this year. But if you have hopes of making the playoff and beyond, if you're Texas A&M, twists and stunts from Sam Houston State shouldn't be shutting down your run game that much. And so it'll be interesting to see moving to App State, and then especially up against Miami, how much they're going to be able to work on some of those communication issues between the offensive linemen. I do think that it has been a welcome sign for a lot of A&M fans that the downfield passing game has opened up a little bit with the speed that they have at wide receiver. Funny tangent to that is someone asked, Olin Buchanan asked Keith Brown who his 4x1 team would be of A&M players. I think it's interesting that the first guy he named was Haynes King, leading it off. He put Devon Achane at 2, then Evan Stewart, then himself as the anchor guy, but said, maybe him and Achane could switch up that anchor role a little bit. But they do have speed. They do have a decently accurate passer, a little bit of a gunslinger at times in Haynes King, and it has opened up that 20-plus yard passing game. If they can get that run game moving, it'll open that up even more.
I think Jimbo said it well while he was in there that A&M's got a lot of talent on offense, but the lack of experience, it's kind of making it a work in progress almost. So definitely curious to see where the Aggies go there. An offensive note that we talked about today was Demetrius Crownover. I mean, we saw him a lot at that tight end spot, got the start actually, and with Max Wright out, a guy we thought would probably be the Aggies starting tight end for that first game. He's a guy that came in as a tight end, and then now he's moved over to tackle, kind of working in a flex role, kind of like a strong tackle almost, kind of an interesting spot there. So kind of interesting hearing Jimbo talk about him a little bit.
It was, as we know, my focal point, the thing that's got me the most jazzed up this offseason was that tight end room and what how many guys they brought in, how they're going to get minutes for a lot of these guys. And it was a little bit interesting to me that they have all of these guys down there, but they actually converted a lineman over to tight end for the start of this game when they knew that Max wasn't going to be out. And I get it when you look at some of the Jake Johnsons and the Theo Mello-Olstroms, some of those guys, they are more of the prototypical pass-catching tight ends, blocking, and that's something that even Tanner Shorp said when we talked to him last week. Blocking is going to be that next level that they're going to probably need to step their game up, and Jimbo needs a blocking tight end. He's always had a blocking tight end since he's been here. I get that, but might be a little bit of something saying that those young tight ends aren't quite as there as maybe we thought they might have been coming into the season. Get to see a decent amount of Donovan Green in the game. That was the one freshman that we got to see, and it may be a guy that we kind of overlooked, and a lot of the people overlooked when you looked at the Jake Johnsons and some of these other guys in that list. So, yeah, I think that was maybe a little bit more telling about where that room is as a whole than anything necessarily about Demetrius, even though he did come in as a tight end and they moved him over to the offensive line, moved back over, knew a bunch of the blocking schemes already. It seemed like a decent fit, but curious to me.
Speaking of injuries and tight ends, we got an update on a few A&M players. Jimbo Fisher saying Max Wright's questionable. McKinley Jackson, Jalen Jones, they should be back to practice this week. And I think he said Andre White is day-to-day. Those were the four that we heard
and
about.
McKinley Jackson was out because of injury. He's a guy that, and again, I know someone's going to correct me, neither one of us, I don't believe, saw him down on the field in street clothes before the game.
Yes, we did. I did see him.
Did see him.
He was wearing a brace on that. I think it was his right arm.
Okay, there you go. So we did see it. It was an injury. He was out there, and they said that he should be back in practice, as it was Jalen Jones, who will bring a little bit more of that veteran presence to that defensive secondary.
Bryce Foster, one more guy. Jimbo didn't quite have a timetable on that. He missed last week's game with an illness, so just something to keep an eye on, especially as A&M's trying to get improvement on that offensive line. Certainly a guy that could make a difference if he gets back. So a lot of high praise for Appalachian State from Jimbo Fisher. That's right up his alley. He's going back in the day, 1A ball. What'd you kind of make of what Jimbo had to say about that?
A lot of good talk about being a historian in 1-2A ball with the Marshalls and the Furmans and the people who were in those conferences back then. We asked him about the 12-team playoff and what that'll do, and he kind of went into how he was a historian. He loved the bowl games. He loved seeing who won the Sugar Bowl and the Orange Bowl and all those things every year, and he thinks that this expanded playoff will bring a little bit more oomph back to some of those bowl games where you saw guys who were opting out of those games, deciding not to play and whatnot. And so, it'll be interesting just to see what happens there. But Jimbo has always been a proponent of that expanded playoff and thinks that probably will bring a little bit more excitement, keep guys in some of those games and do that, but also had a lot of praise for Appalachian State and what they've been able to do with their program, not only in the last little bit, not only going back to 2007 that went over Michigan, but going back into the 1-2A eras where they were winning a lot of national championships back then with a lot of those teams around them.
Kind of insightful. We got to hear from three new guys today that I don't think we've ever heard from: Isaiah Rakes, Yoel Keith Brown, and Jordan Gilbert. Kind of interesting hearing from those guys, pretty well spoken. Yoel Keith, of course, kind of enlightening and funny in his own way. Jordan Gilbert, though, he's from Louisiana. Had to ask him about some good old Cajun food.
Of course he did.
why not, right? I mean,
Eagle food beat reporter.
so I got to agree with Jarden. Jarden, your take on gumbo and okra and gumbo is correct. Okra does not belong in gumbo.
Is this like a beans and chili kind of thing?
Kinda, yes.
Okay.
Okra does not belong in gumbo.
I like
So-
fried okra, not a big regular
I like
okra
fried
guy.
okra too, but I mean, it just gets slimy with the roux. It's just not good, Travis. All right, I think that's all the time
Yep.
we got for today. So be sure to check theeagle.com for all of our coverage from today's press conference and leading up to A&M's game against Appalachian State on Saturday afternoon. For Travis Brown, I'm Alex Miller. We'll see you next time.